were married 40 years ago. We were married 3 years, we got a divorce. Then I married Marjorie.
But first you lived with Barbara.
Right, Barbara. But I didn't marry Barbara, I married Marjorie.
Then you got a divorce.
Right, then I married Katie.
Another divorce.
Then a couple of years later at Eddie Colicchio's funeral, I ran into her. I was with some girl I don't even remember.
Roberta.
Right, Roberta. But I couldn't take my eyes off you. I remember I snuck over to her and I said, what did I say?
You said, what are you doing after?
Right. So I ditched Roberta. We go for coffee. A month later, we're married.
35 years today after our first marriage.
What's up, guys? How's everybody doing tonight? Good? Good. It's a crazy night tonight, but we're gonna do this thing. So we've been talking about dating, and like we've talked about a good bit, relationships can be messy, right? Can we all agree with that? Like relationships can be pretty messy, like that video right there. Like that's pretty messed up relationship, but they got back together. So it's interesting. But so what we're gonna do really quick is I'm gonna have you guys help me with something. So I want you to tell me 5 things, and I'm just gonna write down them as I hear them. 5 things that you guys do for fun. So whether that's like play basketball, just look at your phone, sleep. Hold up. All right, I heard baseball. All right, no more sports. Fish. YouTube. Netflix. All right, that's it. I got 5. So those are fun things. Now what I want you to tell me, 5 things that you do that might not be fun, but you do them for a purpose. So wait. Hey, chill out. So I heard homework, that's a good one, but things like maybe it's exercising, practice an instrument, like they're things that you do that you need to do. Like you're not going to be good at an instrument if you don't practice it. So the first one I'm going to put down is homework. I'm not going to write down wake up. Because if you don't wake up, you're dead. Exercise. You don't like going to the bathroom? That's weird. All right. Work. All right, give me 2 more. I need 2 more. I put homework. We'll count school for homework. Chores, all right. You don't like feeding your pet? Your pet dies if you don't feed it. Give me 1 more. You don't pay bills, Cameron. What? All right, feeding your dog. Your dog's going to die. I'm killing this marker. All right, so these are things that you need to do but don't like. Y'all like my handwriting? It's actually really good, but I'm writing on a board. So listen, what is the difference between each of these lists? One you enjoy, one you don't. Like one is things you just do for fun. You have to sleep, but do you have to watch YouTube? No, you don't, but it's fun. You don't have to watch YouTube, but it's fun. You don't have to watch Netflix, but it's fun. Get out of here. All right. YouTube can be educational, not the way most of you use it. And then this list right here is stuff that we have to do. Like, you can't finish school if you don't do your homework. Like, you're not going to pass your classes. You're not gonna be in shape if you don't exercise. So there are things that aren't necessarily fun They're things that aren't necessarily fun, but they're things that improve us. And so my next question is, where would you put dating? Would you put dating under fun or need it but don't like it? All right. All right. So we're putting dating under fun. Now, listen. Somebody, who said fun? Chelsea, tell me why, only Chelsea, tell me why dating is on the fun list. All right, so you get to do fun things, you get to make memories with somebody, so that's good. So, if you were with us last week, you'll remember that we talked about how the Bible really doesn't have a lot to say about dating. There's not a ton in the Bible about dating, but we did talk about how it contains a lot of wisdom that can be applied to dating. We talked about how it contains tons and tons of wisdom that we can apply to our dating lives, to our relationships. And last week's point was that if we want to have the best relationships possible, then we should start where Jesus started, and that was with loving God. We talked about how loving God helps us to love people better. And when we're talking about that, when we're talking about loving people, we're talking about our mom, our dad, talking about our friends, and even those people that we date. When Jesus said, love God and then love your neighbors, every single person you know falls into that neighbor's category. And what we finally got from last week was that staying close to Jesus makes every relationship better. Staying close to Jesus makes every relationship better. And so this week we're going to continue talking about dating, but more specifically, we're going to talk about ways that we can date. We're going to talk about the difference between going on dates and dating exclusively. We're going to talk about the purpose of dating, and then finally we're going to talk about what happens if you end up on a date like this. Go ahead and play that videotape.
And now I thought I'd share some of my favorite worst first date stories from you guys. This first one's from Jordan Cohen to you. She says, I was really into this guy, but I was so nervous on our first date that when he told me, you smell good, I replied, thanks. I used both my nostrils. This one's from Anna Banana 0626. She says, I was walking ahead of him and got into the car parked out front before he could open the door for me. He knocked on the window and yelled through the glass, this isn't my car. It's a Mercedes-Benz, I kind of like it. Whose car is it? I'll wait. This one's from Forever Smiling 2. She says, on my first date, my first time even at a sushi place, I decided to order 13 rolls. I thought rolls meant individual pieces of sushi. The servers had to push 2 tables together just to hold them all. Like, 13 rolls of sushi. All right, whatever you say. Bring him, keep bringing them. I've been here before. This one's from Patrick AH81. He says, I once spilled soda on my crotch while pulling into my date's driveway. My first words when she answered the door were, it's not pee.
I'm clean.
It's not pee.
Yeah, not pee.
All right,
It's a
well,
little
what
bit
is
of
it?
poop.
Yeah. This one's from Linda Childers 1. She said, a friend once set me up on a blind date. I wasn't in a great mood because I had received a traffic ticket a few hours before. My day got worse when my blind date turned out to be the cop who gave me the ticket.
Oh!
What?
I know you. That's fate. That's fate.
Oh, my goodness. This one's from M. Fonda. She says, on our first date, the guy choked on an omelet and blew an onion out of his nose.
All right. So clearly those dates were not headed into a good direction. Like, probably there weren't many second dates that happened after those first date impressions. And so tonight we're going to discuss a way to date that actually goes somewhere. We're going to talk about dating with a purpose. And so one of the things that we're going to talk about tonight is the fact that dating, for some of us, again, we talked about last week how different parents have different rules regarding dating and things like that. But for some of us, dating is allowed, but it's not always good for us. Like, dating is allowed, but it's not always good for you. And it can be a bad thing. Like dating can be a bad thing in your life, and even as a teenager, but it doesn't have to be. And I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that dating at your age is bad. Like, you guys will never hear me tell you that I think that you guys going on dates, you guys having a boyfriend or girlfriend is a terrible idea, because sometimes I think it can be a good thing. Sometimes I think dating can be a good thing. It's just the way that we go about it. So to start things off, we're going to be in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10. And I'm going to read verses 23 and 24. And this is Paul writing here. He says, "All things are lawful, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful, but not all things build up. Let no one seek his own good, but the good of his neighbor." So right here, what Paul is telling the Corinthian church, he's telling them that they need to make choices that honor God and others. They need to make choices that honor God and honor others. And I think dating falls into this category. I think dating is something that if Paul were speaking to us today, dating would be something that he's including in this category, because not all dating is bad, but it's not all good. And what's important is how we go about it. What's important is how we go about dating. So how can dating be one of those things that is technically allowed, but it's not always good? Well, there's one obvious, last week we talked about how one of the questions that you need to ask before you date is it something that'll be good for you right now? Like, is dating something you need to do right now? And so one of the obvious answers to why dating could be bad for you is that it's not something that's good for you right now. If you came to the conclusion last week that dating right now is not good for you, then that's a scenario where dating at this point in your life is bad. Another way that dating is technically okay but could be bad is that if you're dating someone right now, but they don't treat you with the respect that you deserve. And then finally, another way is that you're dating someone, but you know that the relationship is more about what you get out of it than your love for that person. So those are three ways that yes, dating is technically allowed, but it's not always good. And so in each of these three cases, dating, sure, maybe it's not wrong, but is it right? Maybe it's not wrong, but is it right? Is it helpful to you? Is it beneficial, or even is it good for you? So we're going to go back to the board. So to answer that question, whether dating is good for you right now, we need clarity on something, and that is, what is the purpose of dating? So obviously, having fun, getting to know people, that's one benefit of dating. Having fun and getting to know people is one benefit of dating, but ultimately, that's not the purpose of dating. Ultimately, the purpose of dating is not to just have fun. Because the ultimate purpose of dating is to find a partner. And so we're gonna break down dating into 3 steps tonight. And I'm gonna kind of walk you guys through those. The first, if this thing works, is casual. So the first is casual dating. Then you might move into exclusive dating. And then finally, the penultimate step of dating is marriage. Which, I forgot to mention this, you middle school girls know Bailey, back here in the back. Tonight is Bailey's last night with us because she is moving into this marriage stage. She's moving back to Missouri, and she's going to be getting married in April. So we're super excited for her. So these are the 3 steps of dating: casual, exclusive, and then ultimately dating ends with marriage. So when we're talking about casual dating, this is the phase where, I know this sounds weird. It sounded weird to me at first when I read it too. But this is the phase where you're open to talking and spending time with people that you might be interested in. It's where you're open to talking and spending time with different people that you might be interested in. Maybe this is in the form of a formal date, like you actually go out to dinner with somebody or you spend time with somebody. But it's also could just be taking time to get to know one another. It could just be taking time to get to know one another. And again, there's nothing in the Bible that directly talks about this, but we're going to look at the book of Psalms. We're going to be in Psalm 139, chapters 13 and 14. And this is what it says. For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. That's an awesome verse because what we get from that verse is that each and every person in this room was created uniquely. God created each and every one of you uniquely. He knows exactly who you are. Each and every person in this room, God knows exactly who you are. And that's whether you are in a relationship with God or not. Whether you're in a relationship with God or not, He knows who you are. But a lot of us in this room, maybe some of the adults as well, a lot of us are still trying to figure that out. We're still trying to figure out ourselves who we are. And so I want you to keep that in mind when you're in this phase of dating. I want you to keep in mind that you guys are still figuring this whole life thing out. And some of you are still trying to figure out exactly who God created you to be. And as you get to know others, you're going to begin to learn more about who you are and who you're not. As you take time to get to know other people, as you take time in this casual dating phase to get to know other people, you're going to learn more about yourself, maybe more about yourself than you even learn about that person. And you're going to learn what you want in a partner and what you don't want. You're going to learn about what you want from that boyfriend or girlfriend and what you don't want from that person. So if you have a clear idea of who God created you to be, then this should be pretty easy for you. Like if you already have a pretty good idea of who God has created you to be, then this shouldn't be very hard for you. So the most important part of this casual dating stage is to pay attention to who God created you to be. The most important part of this casual dating phase is to pay attention to who God created you to be. And so then as we move out of this casual dating phase, we move into the exclusive dating. And this is the phase where you've decided that one of those people that you've spent time with, one of those people that you've spent time getting to know, you're interested in them. You think that they have potential. And so now it's time to see if this person is somebody that you could spend the rest of your life with. When you move into this exclusive dating phase, this is where you start to think about, is this someone that I could spend the rest of my life with? And there's three big questions that I want to give you guys. And the first of these is, does this person share my love for Jesus? Now, that may not be important to all of us in this room because there's probably some of us in this room who don't follow Jesus ourselves. But if you claim to be a believer, if you claim to be a Christian, then you should be pursuing people who share that same love for Jesus that you have. As you're trying to find this person that you're dating, you should be looking for someone who shares that same passion for Jesus. The second question is, again, this matters more to believers necessarily than it does to non-believers, but will we help each other grow in our faith? Will we help each other grow in our faith? If that person seems to be pulling you away from God, then they're probably not that person that you need to spend the rest of your life with. If you notice that as you're dating this person, you're reading your Bible less, you're going to church less, that sort of thing, it's probably time to reevaluate that relationship, especially if you claim to be a Christian. Especially if you claim to be a Christian. And then finally, this one, I think every one of us need to apply this to anybody that we date exclusively, and that is, can I see us growing together for a lifetime? Can I see us growing together for a lifetime? And then once we move from that exclusive dating phase, we move in to marriage. And so I know a lot of you in here are you might be thinking like I'm way too young to be thinking about this. Like I'm in 6th grade. Like I do not need to think about marriage. But what I'm going to tell you tonight is that is exactly what I want you to consider. That thought right there. Because if you think you're too young for marriage, then you're missing the point, because the purpose of dating is to lead towards marriage. So if you think you're too young to already be thinking about marriage, then you might be a little too young to start dating. You might be a little too young to start dating, because if you're going to date someone, and if you're going to do it in a way that helps you to grow closer to Jesus, you need to do it with marriage in mind. You need to do it with marriage in mind. So that leads us to, well, what is the purpose of marriage? So for that, we're going to be in the book of Ephesians, chapter 5. Verses 31 and 32 say this: "Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This mystery is profound, and I am saying that it refers to Christ and the church." You see, guys, the purpose of marriage is to experience a connection and a oneness with another person that is similar to the oneness that we're meant to have with God. The purpose of marriage is to experience the same oneness that we can experience with God with another person. The purpose of marriage is to experience God and his connection with us in a new way. So now I've probably got you thinking, so if I can date, or can I date even if I'm not ready to get married? Obviously, probably most of us in this room are not ready to get married. And my answer to that would be yes. Just like that verse from Paul said in Corinthians, yes, you can date, but the question that you need to answer for yourself is it good for you? I mean, sure, it's allowed. You're allowed to date if your parents say you can, but it might not necessarily be beneficial. It might not necessarily be beneficial. And so I want to give you guys a few tips for if you decide to date. Whether you're ready to get married or not, I'm going to give you a few tips for dating. The first of those is you need to focus on building your relationship. You need to focus on building your relationship. And that relationship I'm talking about is with that other person. Because you have to keep the goal in mind. Like we said earlier, dating is something that we can do for fun, but you're also trying to determine if this person you like will actually be a good fit for you. You're trying to figure out if this person might actually be a good fit for you. And we need to date in ways that intentionally build your relationship. You need to do things that build your relationship. Here are ways not to build the relationship. If every time you're together, you're just spending time staring at a TV screen or a movie screen or your phone, that's not growing your relationship with that person. If you spend all of your time together not speaking to one another, that's obviously not going to grow your relationship. And a really big one, if every time you're together with that person, all you're doing is being physical with that person, then that's not growing your relationship. And I would say that if that's the case for a relationship that you're in, then you're in that relationship for the benefits that you get from it, not because you love that person. Second tip is to date in groups. Date in groups. This is an easy way to avoid getting sucked into one of those physical relationships. Because if you're willing to be physical with a person with other people around, you're weird. Like if you're not uncomfortable, like kissing someone in front of other people, and being all weird, that's weird. And it's a good way to keep the relationship from getting too serious too soon. It's a good way to keep the relationship from getting too serious too soon. Because if you're not ready to get married, then you don't need that relationship to get too serious. So go on dates with friends. Go on double dates, triple dates, whatever, but go on dates in groups. Third tip, and I think you need to do this before you ever even consider dating, and that is set good boundaries. Before you ever date a person, you need to decide good boundaries to set for yourself. Because if you wait until the two of you are alone, it's too late. If you wait until the two of you are alone to decide what you're going to do, it's way too late. So the first thing you need to do is you need to set physical boundaries. You need to know in advance what you're not willing to do. And you need to be clear about your expectations with that other person. Again, if you're trying to share those expectations with that person when the two of you are alone, you've waited too late. And then with our physical boundaries, we can't let anyone pressure us to compromise those expectations. Girls, guys are going to try to push you as far as they can. Guys are going to try to tiptoe the line of your boundaries as much as they can, and you have to stand firm. You have to hold firm to the boundaries that you set for yourself. Guys, there's probably girls out there like that too, but I know how guys think, and girls, I know that guys are going to try to push you to the limits. But not only physical boundaries, we also need to set emotional boundaries. The most important thing you can do, whether you're a guy or a girl, is to guard your heart. It's to guard your heart, because your heart was made carefully by God, and you need to treat it and yourself with respect and love. If you're willing to just give that away to the first person that says they love you, you're not respecting your heart. If you're just willing to give that away to the person that looks at you with googly eyes, then you're not respecting your heart. Guys, God created each and every one of us uniquely. He created you in a specific way, and He wants you to love yourself. He wants you to respect yourself, and you can't disrespect yourself by dating any and everybody that comes your way. A fourth tip that I would have for you if you're going to date is to date a Jesus follower. Now, if you're not a believer, that's a good idea, because they're probably not going to try to push your boundaries. If you claim to be a Christian, that's not a tip, that's a requirement. Like we talked about last week, Paul told us, or Jesus told us not to be unequally yoked. What that means is I don't need to put myself on the same level as someone who doesn't even believe in Jesus. Not that person's below me, but if I have them on the same level, it's going to be a whole lot easier for them to pull me away from Jesus than it is for me to pull them towards Jesus. You guys know what missionary dating is? Have you ever heard that term before? Doesn't work. Don't do it. I don't care how cute that person is. I don't care how awesome they are. Do not date someone. If you claim to be a Christian, do not enter a dating relationship with someone who is not a believer in Jesus Christ. Because it's not going to do you or that person any good. And this isn't about a religious rule. Like, this isn't just a religious rule. This is about aligning yourself with someone who shares the same goals and the same values that are most important to you. It's about aligning yourself with someone who has the same values as you. So date someone who makes you want to love Jesus more. I tell people all the time that I am a better pastor and a better Christian because of my wife. Because she loves Jesus just as much as I do. And when you center a relationship on that, when you center a relationship on Jesus, and you focus on that relationship, it's only going to draw the two of you closer. So date a Jesus follower. And then finally, date with a purpose. Date with a purpose. Don't date blindly. Some good things to do are to ask good questions. Like I said, if you're spending most of your time not talking to that person, it's probably not a good relationship to begin with. Ask that person questions. Get to know the person that you're dating. Seek wise counsel, whether that's friends, whether that's from parents, whether that's from leaders here in this youth group. Don't ignore when others share concerns with you. If someone questions who you're dating, because either they're doing things that they know they shouldn't or they're not a believer, then you need to take that to heart. Don't just throw it off to the side because you like this person so much. Listen to others. And then finally, be honest with yourself and others. Because when other people bring those issues to us, when they bring those concerns to us about this person that we're with, we've got to be honest with ourselves. We've got to look at our situation and figure out, is what's being said true, and I'm just ignoring it. I mean, you've got to be honest with yourself. So if you're in here tonight and you decide not to date right now, fantastic. Like, fantastic. Because in reality, dating can be pretty overrated. Like, I'm just being honest with you guys. Like, dating can be pretty overrated. And if you can enjoy your middle and your high school years surrounded by friends as you discover more about who you are and who God is to you, that's a good thing. If you can get through middle and high school happy without a boyfriend or girlfriend, then that's really good. Because you're going to spend time with your friends, you're going to spend time getting to know yourself, and as the more you get to know yourself, the better you're going to know who that person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with needs to be. And in reality, a lot of times it's really hard, especially in high school. I know I give you guys a hard time about how much time you have. I recognize like you don't have a ton of time. If you add a dating relationship to everything that you're already doing, it's really hard to maintain friendships and a dating relationship when you're in high school and middle school. Like, it's just reality. Like, when you start dating someone, one of two things are going to happen. You're going to spend less time with your friends because you like this person so much, or you're not going to be a very good boyfriend or girlfriend because you want to spend all your time with your friends. So the reality is, guys, I recognize like dating at your age is really hard, and it doesn't necessarily get any easier. But spend these years figuring out who you are. There's no need to complicate your life before you're ready. There's no need to make your life any more complicated than it already is. So whether right now you're dating or not, whether you're dating right now or not, or whether you'd like to or not, or whether you'll start soon or not, I just want you guys to keep this in mind. The purpose of dating is to lead towards marriage. Whether you're in the 6th grade or the 12th grade, the reality of dating is that the purpose is to lead toward marriage. So do it wisely. Don't throw yourself at the first boy that comes your way. Don't throw yourself at the first girl that comes your way. Don't throw yourself at the first person that shows you attention. Guard your heart. Take care of yourself. Because one day you're going to marry someone, and what that means is you're giving your heart to that person. And if you give it to the wrong person, it could ruin the rest of your life. Let's pray. God, I thank you for just all that you do for us, God. I thank you for the love that you show us, God. And God, right now, I know this feels like a silly conversation as we're talking about marriage. God, I pray that we would take all of this to heart God, I pray that when and if we date, God, we would be intentional about it. God, that we would guard our hearts. God, that we would care for ourselves in the way that you care for us, God, and we would recognize just how serious dating is. God, we thank you and we love you for everything that you do. Amen.